All right. So we are live. Welcome to our second night with the UConn women's basketball beat writers. Really excited again to put this event on. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name's Jared Cutler, and I host the Connecticut Scoreboard podcast. And once again, bring together this great panel to help us break down and get ready for the UConn women's basketball season that hopefully will be kicking off soon for us. I know you're all probably pretty familiar with everyone we've got on the panel tonight, but why don't we just do some quick intros, work ourselves around here. Alexa, if you want to start.
Sure. I'm Alexa Philippou. I work at The Current. This is my second season on the beat. Somehow, crazy to think I've already been around for a little over a year, and excited for our season. Hopefully we'll get a season in some form and we can all do it safely.
Dan, if you want to, we'll go to you next.
Okay, I'm Daniel Connolly. I think we're up to season number 6 now somehow. I write for the UConn blog and Store Central. I also host the Chasing Perfection UConn Women's Basketball podcast and the UConn Women's Basketball Weekly newsletter.
Awesome. Charlotte, we'll go to you next.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Carroll. I write for The Athletic, and I cover UConn women's and men's basketball. So this is my second season on the beat. So excited to kind of give it another go around and hope everyone's healthy to do so.
And last but not least, we'll go to you, Doug.
I'm also did the 2017 Final Four, and yep, like everyone else, just crossing my fingers and hoping for basketball.
We could go in reverse order, and Doug, we'll start with you on this one. I think this is everyone's favorite question as you get ready for a season to start, and it's one that everyone was sending my way. What does the starting five look like for the UConn women's team this year?
Well, I guess I'll start saying, this year's a little trickier than others just because they do have so many new faces. 6 freshmen, and you throw Aaliyah Westbrook into the mix. That's 7 new players. It's more than half the roster. So that in itself it's a big number. But obviously you have the 3 returning starters with Kristen Williams and Olivia Nelson-Adota and Anna Makarat. So you can pencil those 3 in. See the possibility of starting 2 freshmen. You kind of brush that off. So my guess at this moment, Paige Bueckers and Aaliyah Westbrook would join those, make up the rest of the starting 5. Obviously, that would kind of put one of those guards out of position, but basketball has kind of become positionless in a sense.
Absolutely.
There's only so many teams that have dominant bigs. So those would be my 5 at this moment.
Charlotte, any differences from your point of view here?
No, I think Doug kind of, at least in my thought process, kind of nailed it. I don't think we see 2 starting freshmen. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I do think the 3 starting returners, Avina for sure, since she's been touted, and just like we haven't seen her play, so that'll be exciting to see her probably in the starting lineup. And then I think you go with the Big East preseason freshman of the year in Paige. I can't imagine her not starting in this lineup. Perhaps that's wrong, but I do think she's maybe earned the starting spot given how Gina's kind of been talking about her in practice and stuff. So we'll see though. It's just, as you said, Doug, difficult with so many new faces. It's kind of hard to say.
Daniel and Alexa, we could switch up the question a little bit for you two here. And with so many new faces, everyone's always looking to see who's going to be the leader on this team. Who do you guys see really stepping up and being that leader on this team this year?
I think Kristen Williams is probably the easy choice for that. If you kind of look back at UConn's history and see how some of the players with her talent level have progressed, the junior year is pretty consistently the time where they either take the step into becoming an All-American or they've already become an All-American by that point. And I think Kristen Williams' potential is through the roof. I think we saw her talent level, especially her freshman year. There were flashes of it last year at times, even though she kind of struggled scoring the ball. That's what she said about it. But I think just the way this team is built and the fact that there's so many other good centers in the country, I can see Kristen Williams becoming an All-American this season, being UConn's leading scorer, and really just becoming UConn's go-to player out on the floor.
How about you, Alexa?
Yeah, I think my initial answer would have been Kristen, but I'll mix it up and talk a little bit about Olivia, because I think she's also going to take a big step. And Gino always talks about how that Oregon game from her in February of her sophomore season was a huge turning point. She went from basically one of the worst practice players in program history to kind of a complete 180. And she's only continued on that trajectory, it seems like, since they've been in off-season practices, preseason practices. And it's not the way that Gino talks about her too. It's that she's composed and that she's Jamel was talking about this too the other day, saying that she was really active and involved in every play. It's not necessarily, oh, is she going to put up, like 17 and 10 like night after night. It's just more of the kind of intangible stuff that stuck out to me. So I think with, Kristen, maybe scoring wise, it will lead the team, will be like the vocal point offensively. But I'm really excited to see what Olivia is going to do, and not just from a kind of a productivity standpoint, but also just in a leadership capacity.
Alexa, we'll go to you with this one. And again, everyone could give their thoughts on this. We could work our way around. I think one of the things everyone's really excited to see this year is Paige and what she's going to bring to the court. What are you expecting to see out of Paige, early on, and how might her role change as the season goes along?
Yeah, it's so funny because, for so long, Gino, I thought was kind of trying to temper expectations a little bit. He was trying to say, look, Paige is going to be great, but every freshman that's ever been through my program, besides Maya Moore, has struggled at some point during her freshman year. They're going to have ups and downs. Like she hasn't played a college game yet, all this stuff. But then when I think it was Big East Media Day, and he was talking about her having this tremendous, I think it was the word he used, month of October, and that she was really, really good already. And so I think I have a little bit higher expectations just seeing how they've talked about her, even just over the course of the last 3 or so months. But I mean, of course, I do think it's one of the things that she talked about too recently was like, oh, I didn't realize how sloppy I was until kind of getting into Gino and CD's practices and everything like that. So, she is going to have a little bit of her work cut out for her. I'm actually really interested to see too, because they have some pretty tough games right away with Mississippi State and Louisville. So she'll have a little bit of Big East play in December to find her footing, but right off the get-go, it's not going to she's going to have to, if she's going to be playing, it's kind of tough competition. So I still do expect a little bit of ups and downs, but I do think the general trajectory is going to be really promising by the end of the year.
Daniel, anything on your end on Paige?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where I tried to keep my expectations in check in just my own thoughts and in my work for Paige, because it is so hard to have a good freshman year at UConn. But just as more time goes on and the more we hear about her and the more we even talk to her herself, I think she's going to be in for a really, really good freshman year. Maybe not one of the best we've ever seen at UConn, because that's obviously a very high bar, but I think she's going to be the fifth or sixth player on this UConn team, probably depending on where Aaliyah Westbrook is in her recovery from a knee injury and just where she is after not playing basketball for a year and a half, 2 years. So I think she's going to be really good and she's going to be a contributor, but still kind of have those ups and downs, kind of in a similar place, as I mentioned, to Kristen Williams as a freshman, where she's not your top option. She's not a superstar from the first day, but she's going to be a pretty good player for the team, and she's going to have a big impact on their wins and losses.
Charlotte, how about you? Similar expectations?
Yeah, I think similar expectations. I will say I do think it's a hindrance and also maybe an advantage to UConn is that because of this weird situation with COVID and the pandemic, just how much this team, the time they spent together. So I think that will be interesting to see kind of how that translates on the court. Gino has talked about that not being necessarily there yet, but that was at the beginning of November that we last spoke to him. So how that's kind of changed in the few weeks and what that product will look like with all those new faces and that time spent with the older players as she's kind of learning to find her voice as well. So it'll be interesting to see.
Doug, how about you? Any other thoughts on Paige?
I mean, how could you not have big expectations for her? Gino last year said when they win the national championship at some point, she would be a big reason why. Play things light with her and, calling her a Kardashian and, joking about her celebrity status. But, he obviously knows that there's a lot on her plate. And, the moment she takes the court, like Charlotte said, I think this season will be unique in a lot of ways. And that might help them. And, when she goes on the road, there's, when they go to Baylor, it's not going to be a packed house. So, it'll be different, but I mean, the expectations, sure, they're enormous around her.
Charlotte, I'll go to you with this one here. We spent a lot of time here talking about Paige. If there's a freshman outside of Paige that's going to make that big impact this year, who do you have on your list?
Definitely Aaliyah Edwards. The coaching staff has talked about her as she's just kind of already in that mindset and she's looking really, really good, her and Nika. So I think she's someone you got to have on your list as just she's that backup in the post that UConn really is needed. And I think she'll be able to get some good minutes in there with the progress Olivia is making while she will have to play a lot. It'll be nice to give her the opportunity to get a break. I don't know if she didn't really necessarily maybe get as much last season.
How about you, Daniel? Looks like his audio might be.
I muted myself. I'm really good at technology here. Yeah, I agree with Aaliyah and Nika both being big contributors this year. I'll let someone else talk about Nika. I'll go with Mir McLean because I think she's a really interesting player on this team where I think she's in a very similar spot at this point in her freshman year to where Aubrey was last season, at least from everything we've heard. But I think the biggest, and they're very similar players too, super athletic, really good on the boards, seem like they're going to be helpful on defense. But I think the biggest difference between Aubrey as a freshman and Mir this year is going to be opportunity because last year Aubrey was the sixth player in the rotation. She had the sixth most minutes on the team. And I think even in the best case scenario for Mir, that's not going to be the case because they just have so many players ahead of her. You have the four returners. You have Avina. I think Paige and Aaliyah are probably ahead of her too. Nika on top of that even. So best case scenario, she's eighth in the rotation. So I think her role will be smaller than what we saw from Aubrey last season. But I think there's still a spot for her to have minutes this year as a spark plug off the bench, someone that can come in and help with rebounding, defense, and just kind of disrupt on both ends of the court. So I'm interested to see where she is when the season starts and then also how much she contributes throughout the year.
How about you, Alexa?
Yeah, I'll talk about Nika since we covered the others. I am really excited to see her play because she was one of the ones I felt like for me personally going into the season, we all, I knew like Paige was gonna be good. I had a pretty good feeling that like Aaliyah was gonna be good, but I didn't know as much about Nika. And then we started to notice that the coaches and the players would like bring her up and kind of was like that Paige, Aaliyah, Nika trio of players who probably were the freshmen who were above the rest. And then, just talking more and more with the coaching staff, it seems like she has this really kind of cool intensity and physicality and relentlessness. She's been kind of compared to like a freshman year Jen Rosati, which I think is like really interesting because they haven't had necessarily a player like that in a while. So I'm really excited to see how she kind of comes in with that edge and how she can kind of bring that to the court her freshman year where, she does have, I don't know how they're going to work out like everything with all their kind of guard pieces. They do have a lot of guards, but if you play like that, I'm sure, Gina's going to find time for you on the floor. So it'll be really interesting to see how she continues to grow throughout her career.
Doug, any thoughts on any other freshmen from you?
I think we covered them all, but no, I mean, Gina was saying last week that Aaliyah and Nika are two of the players he's had, which, considering they're freshmen is high praise. And we haven't been able to, see practice live because of the COVID restrictions, but I'll take his word for it. So obviously, again, like Paige, and there's a lot expected of them.
Daniel, we'll go to you, and you could start on this one. We talked about the freshmen. What about the sophomore class? What are you looking for out of them this year?
Yeah, I think both of those players are really intriguing going into this season. Aubrey and Anna both had flashes at times, but both were obviously inconsistent. They weren't putting up 20 points, 10 rebounds every game for Aubrey, or Anna wasn't hitting 8 3-pointers every single night, but both of them had their moments, and I think they both showed that they have huge potentials. Anna, I think she's in much better shape than she was last season and was working with a nutritionist. She really seemed to find her groove at the end of last year, and she's a really interesting option for this offense. As a player, I don't necessarily know that UConn's had in a long time because she has phenomenal court vision for not being a point guard. She can shoot from, it seems like, anywhere on the court, and when she gets hot, she doesn't miss. And she can kind of fit in a couple different spots, so UConn can run a lot of different lineups with her out on the court, and I think they can be dangerous from all of them. So I don't think it'll necessarily happen, but I think Anna is certainly a dark horse to maybe be this team's leading scorer if things really break right for her, and she's significantly improved from last season on top of getting herself into better shape.
Doug, how about you? Any thoughts on this sophomore class here?
I mean, you would expect a big jump from Anna. She kind of came on in the second half there, after some early growing pains, which you would expect from a player, who's coming from overseas. I mean, that's obviously a big adjustment, even if she had played professionally. And Aubrey, I think, will have a similar role as last year, as a kind of the knife type player off the bench. She has a lot of rebounds. Player who in the AAC tournament, she made the AAC all tournament team, and that's you would have expected, if they were to make a run in March last year, she would have been one of the reasons why. So you would expect her to be more comfortable and to make that jump this year.
Alexa, I'll go to you on this one. I think everyone wants to know the latest on Aaliyah Westbrook in her situation. What have you been hearing about her heading into the start of the season?
Yeah, I think it's a big unknown still. As Doug mentioned, we haven't actually been able to see any practice, which is unusual for us. Usually we're in there, we can see that their first 30 minutes practice, but we haven't seen anything because of obviously all the restrictions. So it's still, I think the sense I get is that Gino is envisioning this team for Kristen and Liv to kind of lead it. And they're hoping that Avina can kind of be part of that too. But I think there's still just question marks with how her knee holds up. She said, and this was back in, I want to say early August, we actually haven't talked with her in a few availabilities, but she said she still has good days, but also bad days. So maybe that's a lingering thing that'll kind of be with her for her whole career. But, obviously she wants to stay healthy. And Gino too was saying that she's going to have a little rest that she has to kind of get off before it's too late. So I guess the good thing is that this team has so much depth and so many, a lot of point guards, a lot of just offensive options that I don't think it would definitely help if they have her like 100%. But if it does even take a little bit of time for her to get back on the court, I think they're in a little bit of an okay positions. But it's still, I don't know, I think anyone's best guess to see what we see next week with her.
So we're going to have Seton Hall coach Tony Bazzella joining us in just a couple minutes here. But in the meantime, while we wait for him to get on, if anyone does have any questions who's watching live, feel free to pop them in, and we'll try to get them answered. And once we wrap with Coach, we'll go through some hot take predictions heading into the season. But Charlotte, I'll go to you on this one, and we go around the room too. What's it been like trying to cover this team during this preseason? With all of the restrictions in place.
It's definitely an experience. It's hard. It's weird. I think the worst is not being able to see the team actually play and practice and just kind of get a sense of what's going on, because we're relying on the coaching staff, and obviously they're telling us they have a better sense of what's happening than we probably do, given their familiarity. But it would be nice to just see what's happening. So I think that's been the toughest. And then the aspect of not being able to meet these new players in person and have those kinds of conversations that you're able to have not over Zoom. So I think that's been the most difficult. Me and Alexa both were doing WNBA coverage, and Doug too, during the summer. So we kind of got a little bit of a taste for this virtual media and kind of got a sense of how it can go. And it went really smoothly. You definitely lose out a lot not having in person, but for what it could be, it wasn't bad. So hopefully it stays the same with UConn, and they've done a good job, at least with preseason availability so far. So it's been nice to talk to people.
All right, and it looks like we've got Seton Hall women's basketball coach Tony Bazzella on the line. Hey, Coach, how are you doing?
Jared, how are you? Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I've gotten a good scouting report so far in the first 20 minutes of UConn, so I'm keeping my notes going. Don't worry.
Coach, and I'd like to start with this one. It kind of leads what Charlotte was just talking about in terms of covering a team during these times and how things have been with the restrictions in place. What's it like from a coaching perspective in trying to get your team ready to play, relatively soon throughout these conditions?
Jared, it's been long. I mean, we could have started earlier in July, but we started like August 1st. And we've been going August, September, October, November. And, I'm a big guy who always does a scrimmage, does 2 inter-squad scrimmages with officials, does an exhibition game. So, by now we would have played 4 or 5 almost simulated type of games, not including our regular games on November 10th and from there on, which is when we were supposed to start. So our girls are just itching to play. We have an inter-squad scheduled for this weekend with officials, so we're looking forward to that. And then hopefully, Wednesday starting up. But, we're nervous. We're like, all right, we passed our test today. Let's go the next day. We passed our test today. Let's go the next day. Because, the girls have waited so long to play. They're just excited to get back on. And you have to remember, we didn't play in April. We didn't play in May. We didn't play in June either.
I know you talked a little bit about some nerves there. How confident are you that things, next week kind of go off without a hitch and that you're playing as scheduled?
Not confident at all. I'll be straight with you. I just don't see how this is going to work. We had a Big East call today, and, there's a lot of trepidation. There really is, with the rule of quarantining, and, you have a group of tier 1 people, coaches, managers, some administration, and of course your players, of about 25 to 30 people. So each day you're praying 25 to 30 people, and we test every other day, are passing. And it's not because anyone's doing anything foolish. They're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. They went to dinner. Everyone was just like, oh, you must have did something wrong to get it. No, it's not that. It's maybe you just were in the wrong place.
Coach, it looks like you might be cutting out just a little here. So let us know. Give it a second here to rebuffer there on your end. All right. It looks like you might be back, Coach. Sorry, it looks like the connection kind of cut there. If things go as planned, UConn is the first Big East, and Seton Hall will be the first Big East team that UConn will be playing. How are you feeling about your team, and what's it like seeing UConn on that schedule first?
Well, we open up with Butler on Friday night at 7 p.m., which I wasn't thrilled about because that's going to be a hard enough game, and then taking a charter back in the middle of the night. But I think UConn is a pretty tough opponent on Friday as well. So, it's no gimme for them. It is what it is. I'm excited to play UConn. I think it'll be a tremendous challenge as always, but it's nice early in the year because you could see kind of where you're at and what you need to improve on. And it'll be a great teaching point for our players. If we win the game, obviously that'll be through the moon, but if we are not fortunate enough to win the game, we can find different areas that we know we need to improve on, but also in practice be able to say, listen, this didn't work, why didn't it work, and what do we have to do better to make it work? So, I actually like it. I wish the game was able to have fans. Obviously, SNY is going to televise it. Hopefully all you guys and girls will be there. But it's frustrating because last year we sold it out. This year we would have sold it out. And that's my only frustrating thing about it. But I am excited to play them. That I know our girls are.
For UConn coming back to the Big East, what's the conference been like? Say over the past couple of years. What is UConn walking into this season?
I think tremendous coaches. We have great veteran coaches in our league. Doug Bruno, Joe Tartamella, Jim Flannery, Jim Crowley. And so on. And then we have some great young coaches like, Jimmy Howard's not young, but he's, a newer head coach. And then of course, Megan at Marquette and Mel at Xavier, and now Denise at Villanova, who's not a young coach, but she's a veteran coach, but still young. So we have some great coaches in our league. I just think it's going to be, exciting all the time. I know the AAC had some good coaches as well, but I know in the Big East, it's veteran coaches and coaches who've been really successful. And I think our brand of basketball is a little different than the AAC, which is a very physical league, the Big East. I mean, we have great teams, that are ranked such as DePaul and, through the years, Seton Hall, St. John's, and Creighton. But and you have to, in our league, be physically and mentally ready to play every day. There's no easy games. They're going to fight. They're going to be very physical. I just think, Geno's obviously understands it, but this is no league that's going to be fearful of UConn. They're going to, be excited to play UConn. No one in our league's like, oh my gosh, I got UConn. They're like, oh yeah, I can't wait to play UConn. And then I think that's going to be a little bit different attitude. Maybe in the AAC, it wasn't quite like that. I don't know, but I watched a lot of the AAC games. And it wasn't as physical, certainly, as our games.
I'll get you off on a non-UConn question here, but this is about one of your players, and Dama Morey from the Hartford Courant here recently had a column on Desiree Elmore on your team, a local kid from Hartford here. Tell us a little bit about her and what we can expect to see out of her.
Well, I recruited Des out of high school, and she chose Syracuse, which is another outstanding school, and we always kept tabs on her. I really liked her as a person. I thought in high school she was not in good shape. She took a lot of plays off. Her talent enabled her to be successful. And I think when she went to Syracuse, she got a rude awakening playing in such a great program. She played a little bit of freshman year. She got hurt her sophomore year. But when she came to us, she was very honest. She said, Coach B, I've not eaten well. I've not taken care of my body. I'm grossly out of shape. I'm going to come here and I need you to kick my butt. And her parents were really supportive, and we did. I think our staff, from our strength and conditioning coach to my assistants, really pushed her hard. And when you look at her now, you're never going to recognize her as if you looked at her in high school. She's got a lot more fit. She's really engaged. She understands the game. She can shoot the three now. She handles the ball excellent. I believe that she will lead the league in assists out of every non-guard. She'll be the leading assist person out of any forward or center in the league. There's no question. Presumably if we make some shots, but I think we will. So she does a lot of great things. She's become a good leader, a very good role model. She's an outstanding student now. She's going to graduate at the end of the year with a great degree. And I'm just proud of her because she really changed herself. And she never, first team all unanimous Big East. I think one of only 3 or 4 people. And that says a lot about her as well.
Coach, I'll get you out of here. We'll wrap up your part here with this one. I know we've UConn game scheduled for December 6th. Have you had a chance to start thinking about UConn, taking a look at the team you'll be going up against, and any initial thoughts there?
Absolutely, Jared. I mean, I joke early, but, I do watch all the great coverage that you all give. I mean, I think that's important. And when we've showed but the intensity that they bring has to really. We're playing with the greatest program in the history of college basketball, but we also have to understand that we have a really good team. And you know what? We were competitive with them last year. 2 years ago, we were not competitive with them, and we don't want to go back to that level of not being competitive with them. And with that being said, we have to play well together. We're going to have to shoot the ball well, probably put a little more pressure on the younger kids. I'm interested. I know they're super talented, and obviously Westbrook sitting out is another veteran, really good player. And I think Liv has gotten better. And obviously, we know about the young kids, but they are young. And we are getting them a little earlier with not a ton of practice time and not a ton of game college time. So maybe if we can disrupt them a little bit, make things uncomfortable for them, then we're going to have an opportunity to be successful against them. We know the challenge it is. But I just am excited to play them. So are my kids, because that's a great measuring stick. And in our league, we fight, and it's tough. And I'm just excited for it. So yes, I have looked at it, of course, and I continue to. We've already assigned our scout for it. We continue to look at our schedule, listen to programs like yourself, and be as prepared as we possibly can. That's the one thing I really learned coming into the Big East was we have such great coaches, and they really prepare well for your team. And that's something that we really need to make sure we do to have a chance against such a great program.
Great. Well, Coach Bazzella, really appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us tonight. And hopefully on December 6th, we'll be having UConn Seton Hall being played.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Do you guys think you'll be able to attend? Is that something that you're all looking at, or how you guys think you're going to do the coverage this year?
We haven't been told anything from UConn.
So you're not sure really if you can cover or not cover and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you guys might know better than I do, but I haven't heard anything from UConn about if we can cover or not.
Mm-hmm.
Still a lot up in the air, I think.
I think the media is kind of up in the air.
No, I hope you're there, because I think I was talking to Alexa about this or Doug. I think you guys do such great storytelling, and being there, you can tell the story because you look at the kids' reactions and the kids' faces and the kids' personalities and all that stuff, as opposed to just being given whatever the TV wants to look at. So, talented writers like yourself really make it become a story and not just a game blog. So, I'm hoping you're there. If it's up to me, I'm going to invite you all to be there on December 6th. You don't got to worry about that. So I'll stick you up in the rafters, but I'll have you there. So we'd love to have you. I will ask that question tomorrow, actually. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the NCAA does everything. I'm excited to see how many games we can play, how they're going to criteria everything. I do feel we have 4, 5, 6 NCAA teams in our league. So I do think we're going to really see a lot of interesting stories this year in the Big East, and I'm hoping you guys are there to cover them the whole time.
Awesome, Coach. I really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, and best of luck as you get ready to start the season.
Thank you. I'll see you on the 6th.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, hope everyone enjoyed hearing from Coach Bazzella. Give us some coaching insight into both scouting UConn, the conference, and the Big East. So some great stuff there. So I figured we'd wrap here with kind of some lightning round predictions. I know we did some of these when we did our postseason wrap up, but now we can look ahead and do some predictions heading into this season. So Alexa, we'll start with you. Work our way around. You had to guess prediction on leading scorer for the team this year.
Kristen Williams.
Daniel.
Kristen, but dark horse Anna.
All right, Charlotte.
Kristen.
Doug, you going to give us any disagreement here?
No, I'm gonna say Kristen as well. She almost has to be. I think she's kind of put that on her shoulders to be more aggressive.
All right, maybe this one we could vary it up a little bit. Most improved. Who do you see being the most improved on this team this year?
Is this me?
Yeah.
Give me a second here. Say Anna. I mean, just because I think she, as I said last year, you really saw her get more comfortable with her shot. The second half, you saw her kind of, I know Gino said she kind of had a stubborn side to her early on, and I think they kind of worked that out of her in a sense. Ball, she knows, she's more sure player who can make shots, from perimeter. She's certainly one of them. So I think she's in for a big season.
All right. How about you, Charlotte?
I think I'm going to go with Anna, but like on a consistency level, if they play as consistent as they could be, I think Liv could be there as well, given what we saw just the second half of the season. And then also Aubrey, depending on how consistent she can be, because she just shows such athletic, really great flashes when she's playing well. So I know that's not one answer specifically.
Yeah, go give us whatever you want. This is like hot take central, so we'll take whatever.
I'm giving
you Daniel.
I'm actually going to go Kristen because, yeah, she's been a really good player for UConn the last 2 seasons, but I'm expecting her to be an All-American this year. And the step from being a role player into being an All-American, to me, is bigger than the step that everyone else could take, because I still think that Aubrey, Anna, and Liv are going to be really good players, but I think they're still going to be closer to role players than All-Americans. So I think Kristen's going to take a really, really big leap this season.
Alexa, anyone else there?
Yeah, I feel like it's like I almost could make the same argument about Kristen, but I'm going to talk about Liv again. Maybe that'll be like I don't know if dark horse really is a great term to describe that, but I just think that we're gonna see a really like improved Liv, someone who is going to be a lot more poised and going to be able to take the physicality on the court that maybe she couldn't at the beginning of last year. I think I don't know what maybe when we talk about like Kristen's ceiling, we talk about All-American, National Player of the Year. I'm not sure if Liv's going to be, at that level necessarily this year, but I just think it's going to be huge because they still don't have a ton of people on the team that can do what she can do. So I think she's going to be really important, and her being able to take that step in improvement is crucial for this team.
I was trying to think of a number for this one when it comes to over or under on losses for this team this year. Given that it's a young team, I figured we'd go with 2. Would you take the over or under on 2 losses for this team this year? And Alexa, you can start. We'll start that.
I actually, someone asked me this, and we did like a Q&A too. I said 1 to 2. So yeah, I just think their schedule is really. They have a really tough non-conference schedule, and like Louisville is going to be good. I think Baylor still a few question marks because of some of the injuries they have. South Carolina is going to be good. I know I'm missing other teams, but I just think because of how young they are, I would say maybe they're going to lose maybe exactly 2. I don't know. We'll see.
What are you giving us, Daniel?
I'm going to go under with the caveat as long as they stay healthy, and more in a sense of COVID doesn't super disrupt their season, because like for all we know, they could lose 8 games if things really go poorly for some reason. But I'm going to go under just because I think the 4 returning players they have are really strong and are kind of at the level that people have come to expect from UConn. And I think the freshmen are going to be good enough where they're going to be a pretty major boost to the team. And then their non-conference schedule is really tough, but I don't think there's really a clear favorite in the country this year, and I don't think anyone really stands out. There's a lot of top teams that have question marks, UConn included. But I think just with Gino Aram and his staff, I think they answer those questions better than everyone else. So I'll go under.
Charlotte?
I'm going to do the over, but just like maybe 3. Like, it's not like we're talking 8 losses or anything. I don't know. I just have a lot of questions with the youth and with the way the season's going to play out. And again, the tough schedule that they always play. I mean, it's UConn, so I'm sure they'll end up going undefeated as soon as I say this. But I don't know. I think there's just a lot of questions, and a lot of teams in the country have that. So I don't know. It's just kind of a weird season.
And Doug?
I'm gonna go with push. I'm gonna go with 2. I mean, I'll disagree with Dan slightly. I mean, South Carolina, I think is pretty stacked. You return that freshman class. So, I mean, obviously they have them coming to Gamble, and you've a few other top 5 teams. So they're not. You don't know what these teams will look like next week. Next month. It's just going to be a bizarre season, and I just this doesn't have the makings of an undefeated team. I also don't see this team losing 4 or 5 games. So I'll go 2.
We could just do, we'll do a yes or no on this one. We all know how UConn ran through the American without losing a game. Do you think they have any chance of losing a Big East game this year? And Doug, you could start with the yes or no on this one.
Not this year, no. Just because DePaul is the clear second best team, but Gino's never lost to Doug Bruno, and I don't think it'll be this year.
Charlotte?
Good. I don't think they're at UConn's level now with the conference, as Tony kind of discussed. I mean, it's definitely a step up for UConn. There's a lot more. It's a lot more crowded in the middle of the league. But I still don't think, barring any surprises, that this year will be the year that they lose a game.
Charlotte?
I think if anything, this could be the year maybe that they would lose maybe a game, just because of that combination of the youth and with a tougher conference, all the games. But who knows? So maybe.
Dan?
I'm going no, but again with the caveat, as long as something crazy doesn't happen with injuries or COVID, if this is the squad they have all season, then I don't think anyone comes close.
Alexa, you could close us out on that one.
Yeah, I don't like the framing of do they have a chance? Because I think, I don't know, it's like a cliche, whatever 2 teams step out on the floor, it's equal chance, blah, blah. So I think there's a chance, but do I think it'll happen? I don't think this year. I think Doug will get, what would be interesting is what happens maybe in a tournament situation, a Big East tournament. If I could see that in my mind, the day that Doug Bruno finally beats Gino, it's in the Big East tournament. I don't know why. But I think that'll happen eventually. Bruno's a good coach. And I was at that DePaul game last year, and I seriously thought they were going to lose then because DePaul cut a 26-point deficit down to 4 and had all the momentum. But I don't know. So probably not this year, but it'll happen eventually.
All right, we'll wrap with this one. I think I asked everyone for a hot take on the postseason one. What's your hot take heading into this season? And Alexa, you can start us off on this one.
Okay, my hot take is that Aaliyah Edwards will be starting by the end of the year.
All right, I like it. We'll switch up the order on this just for some fun here. Doug, you go next.
I'll go Kristen Williams, All-American.
That's not a hot take.
He pushed on the over/under, took that one there. He's
playing it safe.
Yeah, you're not hitting the tables at Bubbleville at all. Charlotte, how about you?
As someone who hates the hot takes, we'll go stick on the All-American train. I think if Liv puts together and comes back as strong as they're saying, and it sounds like she could. Maybe she gets to be an All-American. Maybe she is an All-American.
All right, Daniel, you get to leave us with the hottest of the hot takes here. So
Sure, I'm going to stick on the All-American train, but I'm going to say Aubrey Griffin gets All-American consideration.
That's a good one. That's a good
there we
one.
go. All right, well, guys, I really appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on. It was a lot of fun tonight. Really looking forward to hopefully the season getting underway as planned. And for everyone out there, make sure you give everyone on the panel a follow throughout the season for all the great coverage that they do. So everyone, I really appreciate the time and thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Everyone
bye,
stay
guys.
safe.
Yeah, bye.